welcome to Friday's highlights from Henley Royal Regatta. Before we concentrate on today's races though, we do need to pick up one huge story that happened too late for our highlights programme last night. Mahe Drysdale is a legend in the rowing world, and particularly at Henley, where he's won no fewer than 6 Diamond Challenge sculls. Amazing performance over many, many years, and people were expecting him to embark on the defence of his Diamond Sculls title with ease. And then this happened.
Mahe would be wanting to get through this round without too much expenditure, but hey, how good is this? The sculler on the right-hand side of your screen, Brigham, and even if he doesn't take this, he'll be able to say that he led Mahe down the Henley course.
What is happening? This is absolutely remarkable. This would be, for me, the shock of the regatta, shock of any regattas that I've ever been to. To see a student beat the current Olympic champion in the single sculls on a course that he has not only knows well, but has won on 6 times, would be an upset that I can't quite overestimate. It's absolutely remarkable what Matt Brigham of Leeds University is doing.
No one can believe what they are seeing right now.
Well, Sarah, that is one of the most incredible races I have ever witnessed.
Friday afternoon, and the boat tents and the boating area is still a hive of activity. It wasn't quite so busy for this matchup early today in the Thames Challenge Cup. This is Okeanis from the Netherlands against Kingston Rowing Club.
Go!
Day 3 of Henley Royal Regatta 2019 is underway. Quarter-final of the Thames Cup. Both crews out the block. Straight away, the umpire is warning the Dutch crew to return to their station.
Wow, we were approaching the barrier now, and I can't choose between these two.
And they're both in their rhythm now. So this is the strongest part of the race, where they're both setting their rhythm. You know, the coxes will be looking in the peripherals, occasionally turning their head to make sure they're in contact with the other crew, but obviously totally focused on what they're doing.
Looking at this race now, it's about 3/4 of a length to the Dutch on the bottom of your picture there, Okeanis, Netherlands. Just extending that out to a length as we come through towards Remenham. And previous races actually is going to be really important here, because they've got a length to make up Kingston, and you've got to have something in the tank for the final sprint.
And that's it. And this is where Okeanis will, I'm sure, just want to keep just moving that gradually. You know, that base pace rhythm is so important, especially in the 8. Once you come onto that base pace, there's not really much you can do to change the speed. It's very difficult.
Kingston now just going for the wind. I think they're going to have to go early. They're passing through the regatta enclosure, and they've got a length to make up. That's going to be tough work, Mark.
As they come towards the end of the enclosures, they're approaching the floating grandstand. And this is going to be job done, really. They've really executed that race plan really well out of the start. Didn't panic when Kingston went in front, and they've just gradually increased their margin down the track and have crossed the line to win the opening race of the day and progress further in the Thames Challenge Cup.
The boat tents, the grass, these oar racks, the design has been almost unchanged for decades. It is so reminiscent of races gone past. You hope, as you pick up your blades and go down to the river for your race, that everything is going to go according to plan. Doesn't always, though.
But we've just gone past Foley.
Gloucester
just getting very close to the boom.
Oh gosh, that's a disaster.
That's what you don't want to see. It's very difficult to get off there.
They'll consolidate themselves now.
They've got to compose themselves. Latimer will just see the opportunity now and just pounce on that.
So Latimer B looking to be progressing through to tomorrow's double day of racing.
And that's what we always say, you never know what can happen at Henley. Dual racing, the booms, once you get stuck on them, it's very hard to come back. Normally your race is over, so that would be a win for Latimer B. And you can hear the cheers they cross the line. Staying composed in their boat as they've beaten one of the favourites of the Gloucester Rowing Club, who unfortunately hit the booms earlier in the race. As they explode off the blocks there. Great shot from behind the German crew there. Just see the power you can see it's warning the German crew to return to their station. That's the last thing you want as an athlete, is to have the rudder on, slowing the hull down. You want to get out quick, as straight as possible.
They're still being warned for their steering. Clara Drews is going to have to move over in the Bonner-Rudiger-Slav crew. And you can hear the umpire still going. That must be the 5th time now.
Coxon has put his arm up. He's obviously not happy about something.
Well, you can see all the dirty water that Bonner-Rudiger-Slav are pushing back at the wire out crew.
See what happens after the race, I'm sure.
I would be very surprised if Waru didn't put in a put in an appeal for that one.
So that was a win there. Or, sorry, I should say the German crew has crossed the line first. Be interesting what happens in the next couple of moments.
Yeah, there goes the hand from the coxswain of the Wairau crew. So we'll see what he's got to say.
Because they cut across us, we had the inability to put power in on one side of the boat off the start.
I agree you were disadvantaged, but the distance means I don't think it affected the outcome of a race. If you try anything like that tomorrow, you will be disqualified.
Okay.
Whilst a few crews will go home very disappointed, the vast majority will find Henley a great experience, win or lose. 2019 marks the centenary of the Peace Regatta. Started in the wake of the First World War in 1919, Forces crews came together to race for the King's Cup. Australia won that day and took the King's Cup, having been presented it by the King, back to Australia, and it's been there ever since. 2019 sees a new King's Cup competition, from 8 Forces crews, men and women from around the world, coming together for a new version of the King's Cup trophy. Whether you're in the King's Cup or just at Henley, you do feel like you're a part of history. Here's how the King's Cup crews got on today.
Great to see a mixed event at Henley. Fantastic. Men and women racing in 8s like this, and the Australian Armed Forces crew just taking an early lead there over the Netherlands Armed Forces.
I tell you what, it's a lot of pressure to win this. The Australians have won it 100 years ago.
They did,
coming out of fighting the First World War, and Major Tom Creggan, the 32-year-old, had stroked in that Australian Armed Forces crew. There he is, Major Tom Creggan.
Australia.
And the Australian Regular Army, Royal Australian Electrical Mechanical Engineers.
Some very strong military-looking moustaches in that Australian boat as well, actually. I'm very envious. I might have to try and grow one of them myself.
Well, do you know what? Until 1916, it was compulsory for men to wear a moustache in the British Armed Forces, and the Australians were part of the British Armed Forces in the First World War.
Very strong race there from the Australian crew. Now just looking at the Netherlands Armed Forces crew. So this crew relatively new, only really been rowing. Some of them only started in February this year, so relatively new to the sport, which is great.
This is job done for the Australians. It's Australia that won the King's Cup 100 years ago, and this Australian crew will hope to do the same, progress serenely through the finishing line in this opening heat of the King's Cup.
Pretty decent start. It looks like the crew on that Berkshire station, that's the German crew, have made a little bit of a jump as they've got away down the island. The crew from New Zealand here in front of us are going to want to try and settle into their pace, but they've got to make sure they respond to this move and don't let that open water get pushed out. This German crew moving really pretty smoothly, aren't they? Looking pretty good. Coming in front of that main grandstand, soaking up the applause, coming down towards our commentary position on the finish line. And looking pretty good. Coming down towards the line, looking fantastically smooth, moving well together and crossing the line. I'm sure there'll be plenty of mutual respect between the crews as New Zealand cross the line behind.
The draw has thrown up a fascinating tussle, hasn't it? Canadian Armed Forces against United States Armed Forces. Canada boat with some work to do early on in this race, a length down on the US boat that you can see on the Buck station. And here come the USA in the King's Cup. Comfortable victory for them. Big cheer. Really colourful scene. Stewards over the finish line come the United States Armed Forces, beating the Canadian Armed Forces off the Buck station. And the Canadians on the Berkshire station. The French against the UK. This is one of those really hotly anticipated matchups. And we'll watch from the start. Look at the crowds on the banks now. And everybody knows the significance of this.
What a great race. And the French have just got the edge, but it's still close. What can the Brits do? There is very little in it. They will be giving pushes. They've all been living together, having this experience, being part of this incredible historic event. And the Brits are putting in a push now. They're putting in a push. They're on home water. What can they do?
This is an unbelievably close race.
Oh, it's brilliant. The French have still got the advantage. They're still sitting there. They're powering away. Private Lucie Giraud, Private Sandy Weber, and the Bow pair doing a fantastic job for France. Wow, what a great race. And the crowds are cheering away.
Big move from the French in front of the crowds at Stewart's, and that'll see them through. Last few strokes now in the King's Cup, and the United Kingdom will be second to the French on the Bark Station. The French armed forces progress through to the next round.
Also celebrating 100 years is the Stewards Enclosure, the venue for huge amounts of socialising and good times still going on behind me. I love doing these highlights because mainly it gives me a chance to shoehorn in really rubbish jokes. There is only one race today that could ever be referred to as Newquay Brown.
Brown University have had to work very hard for that lead. They were similar times to the Barry yesterday, both 1:49, and Brown were just a second quicker, 3:02 to 3:03 to Newcastle at Fawley, but they've edged out. This is a very close race. Is there enough distance left in this race for Newcastle to come through?
I think so. I think, you know, we've just gone through the sort of three-quarter mile there, haven't we? And we're sort of, but as you say, with eights, it is difficult to close down a margin.
Newcastle are charging. That shot doesn't really tell you how close the crews are, but every single stroke, I think centimetre by centimetre, Newcastle are gaining.
This is a great race. They're both on the edge here. You can see the boats quiver as they're all trying to get the power down. It's going to be a race right up to the line, this one.
So Newcastle with their fearsomely tough training programme of Angelo Savarino, only a few of those men can make it. There's the back of Henry Hollingsworth up in the Brown boat. As I look out, I can't really split the difference. Brown just up in front, but Newcastle surging. Are they coming through?
God, this is looking very close. They're both charging down here on us in the commentary box, and I think Newcastle are just nudging their way through.
What a sensational surge from Newcastle. All those miles in training, they've paid off. All that tough training that really put that to the test in the last part, and Brown are struggling to contend with. And Newcastle University, their top boat in the regatta, come through and take this heat of the Temple Challenge Cup from their opponents from Brown University. They were tested in the middle of that race. They rode down, they were almost a length down, but they kept their cool. Brilliantly stroked by Cormac Malloy.
We saw at the beginning of the programme Mahe Drysdale going out of the Diamonds at the hands of Leeds University student Matt Brigham. That happened last night. So the king is dead. Who is going to take his crown? How is Brigham going to get on? Could the prince seize the crown?
Adema of the Netherlands is finding this difficult now. There's definitely a grimace there. We were talking about facial expressions a few minutes ago.
Working so hard, that's right, that grimace is... and I think Matt Brigham is really doing a great job. Powerful strokes, he's quite relaxed. He's definitely been piling that on over the last few hundred metres to say, I don't want this to be a one-off. This is real head-to-head stuff now. They are going stroke for stroke. Little look across from Brigham. He's come back, and that gives him the momentum in the race. He knows he was down, and he's found some more power. That's such a great feeling to have. And Luke Adema will be thinking, my goodness, I am under pressure here. So Adema now, I feel, is putting in a push. He's kind of seen what's come from Matt Brigham. Again, we're in one of those punching races, in one of those boxing matches where one does a push and the next does a push. And Luke is now just trying to power up just a pip to sharpen up. He's maybe just got a bow ball ahead. Again, it's really one stroke at a time. They are going flat out. Matt Brigham looks across. He senses that Luke Adema is starting to get a little bit of distance on him. So what has Matt Brigham got left now?
He's just starting to labour a little bit on appearance, Matt Brigham. I wonder if he's finally found things catching up with him, but Luca Dima powerfully away there. Dutch sculler now in front of Stewards. It was a good race again, and lots of credit to Matt Brigham.
He's looking absolutely exhausted, powering those last few out, Luca Dima. He has been pushed all the way.
He has. We'll be pleased to sense the finish line. Here it comes. We're delighted to have got to that point. Only a length down was Matt Brigham. One of the big stories of Henley Royal Regatta. He might be out now, but what he achieved in the Diamond Challenge Sculls against Drysdale yesterday will linger long in the memory.
So that's it for Friday highlights. It's been another amazing day on the water and off. And the only thing you can say is get ready for Henley Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. It's just rowing poetry, that noise.